frugal and flavorful. Yes, those two words can go together when it comes to cooking. As the price of food continues to rise and food budgets are stretched to their limits, there are some hacks that you can use at home, not at the grocery store, but this is what happens after you get the food back home from the store. These hacks will help you to continue to serve your family delicious meals without breaking the bank. If you don't know me, I'm Hope, and this is Under the Median, where every week we talk about practical frugality. When it comes to frugality and flavor, I went to my cupboards, opened them up, and pulled everything out that I knew that I used to add additional flavor to my meals without adding to the overall cost. Right now in 2023, I'm feeding my family of four for an average of $200 a month. So let's talk about what I do in my kitchen that helps me to be able to do that and really amp up the flavor. So these are dishes that my family is lining up for to ask for seconds and thirds. Before we get started, I should mention this is part 2 of a 2-part series. In part 1, we talked about how to stretch expensive ingredients to feed your family even more meals, and to do it in such a way that you're not adding to the cost of those recipes. If you haven't watched part 1, I'm going to link it up above so you can grab it and watch it after you're finished watching this video. And in case you're missing Larry, who's usually in the studio with me, he's behind the camera today.
Hi, everybody.
All right, let's get started. The first thing you want to think about when it comes to flavor are herbs and spices. You can start with just the basics. You can start with onion powder and garlic powder. But if you're looking to amp up the flavor, you should expand your horizons far beyond those two simple ingredients. Now, there's nothing wrong with those. And to be honest with you, these are the basics. I use these in almost everything I cook. And if I ran out of them, I'd be running right to the store to buy more of it. But there are also some additional herbs and spices that I've discovered that aren't terribly expensive. And a little bit of these goes a long way. And it helps me to add a lot of flavor to the things that I'm cooking. One of those is smoked paprika. Have you ever used smoked paprika? My sister introduced me to this lovely concoction a few years ago, and I have thanked her ever since. It's a little bit more expensive than traditional paprika, but the flavor is absolutely incredible. And as you might guess from the title, it does have a smoky flavor, and it is worth every single penny. Don't be afraid of trying new spice blends. One of the ways that I've been able to get some interesting blends to try is to look in the markdown section at Kroger. Look at this, $2. Now this is blackened spice, which generally is used, it's Caribbean seasoning, so it's got a little bit of a kick to it, which is really nice. But look, it was marked down to $2, and this is a huge container of it. Look in the markdown section at Kroger and see what you can find. And although traditionally this is used with things like blackened fish, I can also use it with vegetables and even soups, and it's super good. This is where I put a plug in for DIY. Oftentimes, you can make your own version of spice blends and even things like taco seasoning. You can make it yourself from basic ingredients you probably already have around the house, and it will cost you far less to make your own versions of those things. This is Chinese 5 spice powder. I was able to make it myself, and I had all the ingredients already sitting on my shelves. Let's move on to talking about bouillon and broths. Here's where I put a caution in here. A lot of broths and bouillon cubes are nothing more than a whole lot of salt with just a little bit of flavor added to them. Yes, you can buy the packages or the quart-sized containers of broth, of chicken broth or beef broth, or if you're plant-based like me, you're just looking for vegetable broth. You can do that, but turn it over before you buy it and look at the sodium content. There's only one bouillon cube that I have used for years, and it is the only one that I've ever recommended. It has a huge amount of flavor in it, and it has substantially less sodium in it than the other brands. It's from Edward and Sons, and I'll leave a link, guys, in the description of the video. Soy sauce, traditionally used in Chinese cooking, but in my house used for a lot of cooking. We buy it clearly in the 1-gallon jug. We get this at Gordon Food Service, and it's $15 for the entire container. And if you know anything about soy sauce a little bit, goes a long way. The only caveat, once again, with this is that sodium content. If you can find the low sodium version, that's even better for you. If soy is something that you really don't want to eat, you might want to try this. This is from a company called Ocean's Halo. I've tried several of those products, and I got this. It's soy-free, no soy sauce. It does taste a lot like soy sauce. You can definitely tell that it's a little different, but if you're looking for a substitute, this is a pretty good one. Next up, a vegan cooking secret that will change your life. This product adds a lot of flavor and you do not have to use very much of it. But before I tell you what that is, I want to remind you that probably you're going to purchase some of these ingredients that I'm showing you, some of these products. And when you do get back from that shopping expedition, there's one thing you want to make sure that you do with that receipt, and that is upload it to Fetch. Fetch is our partner for this video. Fetch is my absolute favorite savings app. I use it multiple times every single week. It's a super easy to use app that you earn points and then you can redeem those points for gift cards. Here's how Fetch works. You're going to grab a receipt, open the app, line up the receipt, snap a photo, upload it to Fetch, and boom, you get points. Seriously, it is that easy. And the thing that I love with Fetch is that I can use receipts from anywhere. It doesn't matter where. They can be restaurant receipts, grocery shopping receipts, any retail establishment receipts, and they can even be physical receipts, or they can also be e-receipts. And here's the best part and the fun part. That is that I can redeem those points for gift cards to hundreds of different places. Amazon, Starbucks, Walmart. And the best thing that Larry and I like to do is that we keep all of those gift cards that we earn from Fetch throughout the year, and then we use those gift cards to help pay for Christmas gifts that year. Get started with Fetch. Check out the link in the video description. Or you can also scan that QR code right over there beside me. Be sure to use the code under the median, and Fetch will give you 1,000 points when you snap that first receipt. Here's the vegan secret to full flavor I promised you: liquid smoke. Y'all, this stuff is absolutely amazing. It will add a smoky flavor and a smoky smell to anything that you make. And remember, there's no meat in anything that I make. And sometimes I have had non-vegans come to my house for dinner and swear that I had meat in that dish that I was serving them. And it is because of this baby, liquid smoke. Let's talk about some more sauces that will add flavor to your cooking. Worcestershire sauce. And I know I'm saying it wrong. All right, those of you who know, if you're in the know, I've had people try to tell me, I think it's Worcestershire sauce, Worcestershire sauce. Tell me in the comments how I'm really supposed to be pronouncing this, because I know I Americanize the heck out of the way that you pronounce this. But however you pronounce it, this is amazing stuff. And it even says the secret ingredient on the front of it. I was surprised to find this at Kroger. This was about $2, and you do not have to use, once again, very much of this to get a whole lot of flavor in your cooking. Let's talk hot sauce. A couple of our sons love hot sauce. You can have, this is like the traditional Frank's. Everybody uses Frank's, right? One of the things that I discovered recently was sriracha sauce. Once again, not terribly expensive, but a whole lot of flavor. Consider just adding a little bit of barbecue sauce. This was $1 on sale at Kroger. There's a lot of flavor in this bottle for $1. Here's something else that's also full of flavor: Coleman's mustard. Oh my gosh, this is great. It's a little bit, it's got some kick to it, guys. I got this at the Amish store where we stock up twice a year, and I think I paid like 25 cents, maybe, for this small container. Dijon mustard. I opened my cupboard, guys. This was all in my cupboard, and yes, I use all of these items. I did not go out and buy anything special to this video. It's all stuff that I have in my house. Spicy brown mustard, and of course, also traditional yellow mustard. Here's an idea of vinegars that you might want to think about. Apple cider vinegar. Of course, you have traditional white vinegar. You also have balsamic vinegar, which I generally have on hand. White wine vinegar will take you a whole long way in the realm of adding flavor to your cooking. Here's something else that a lot of people who aren't plant-based don't know about, nutritional yeast. This will give you kind of a cheesy flavor to things without adding the cheese. So it's also something else to keep in mind. Citrus juices. I'm going to give a plug here for if you can find the real citrus fruit and you get a tremendous deal on it, buy it and bring it home, especially if your haul of citrus fruit is not only economically priced, but is also organic. Now, here's why, because you just really can't beat, you can buy the bottled stuff. We're all familiar with the bottled stuff, and there's nothing wrong with using this in a pinch. But the actual citrus juice, it really is a different flavor profile than the bottled stuff. And yes, I always have this in my cupboard, but I love it when I'm able to find limes or lemons at a tremendous price. Now, when you get them home, remember I said buy a whole lot of them. It goes bad. So you're going to want to process it. You're going to juice it, and when you juice it, put the juice in standard ice cube trays. Freeze them. When they're frozen as cubes, you're going to pop them out and put them in a freezer bag and then label them with the kind of juice it is, especially if you're doing lemon and lime. You don't want to get those confused in recipes necessarily. So make sure you label whether it's lemon or lime juice, and then you're going to date it. Just so you know, a standard ice cube tray is about 2 tablespoons of juice. But here's what I want you to think about doing before you even do the juicing, especially, as I said, if they are organic fruits. Zest them. Get a microplaner out, zest that fruit before you juice it. And before you juice it, roll it on the countertop underneath. Just put the fruit down and roll it like this, because it will loosen up that juice and you'll get even more juice out of it if you will do that. I've also heard people say to put it in the microwave for a few seconds, and that will release even more of the juices before you put it in the citrus juicer and get all the juice out of it to put into here. You want to make sure that you are saving that zest. That zest, if you're looking for flavor, that is a gold mine of flavor for your cooking. And that's one of the reasons I like doing the real fruit when I can instead of this, because I find that there's a lot of different places that I can get, the juice and also the zest off of that fruit. It's like getting a double bonus because you got the real fruit instead of this. Another way to get a lot of flavor is through garlic paste or ginger paste. Now you'll see I got this on clearance at Kroger for 99 cents. And once again, a little bit of this goes a really, really long way. You can make ginger paste from scratch if you want, if you find that you have a whole lot of garlic or if you have access to a lot of garlic that is very inexpensive. Tomato paste. We don't think of tomato paste necessarily. That's not the first thing that comes to mind when we think, I'm going to add flavor to my dishes. Tomato paste. Tomato paste is concentrated flavor. Once again, everything that I've said, a little bit goes a long way. Tomato paste has something called umami flavor in it. That umami flavor is kind of that interesting, sweet, salty, concentrated flavor that your taste buds really, really want to taste. So think about tomato paste. One of the things you might want to think about also when it comes to umami flavor is miso. Miso is a paste that is kind of salty, once again, like tomato paste, and it is going to add a lot of flavor, particularly when it comes to soups. You can add that to soup and it's going to add concentrated flavor to it. Here's one that I sort of mentioned in part 1 of this video, but I'm going to swing back around to it again, specifically because I talked about fresh herbs in the first video and adding those to your cooking. But in this video, let's talk about the whole idea of getting those fresh herbs and dehydrating them. I brought some of the fresh herbs down to the studio from my upstairs kitchen just to kind of show you some of the things that I've done. This is fresh dill. Once again, you can get fresh herbs very inexpensively. That's dill, chocolate mint. Make sure that you label it and that you have it dated. Here's something you may not think about. Carrot tops. People always don't know what to do with carrot tops. You can put those in a dehydrator and dehydrate them just like you would an herb, and then keep them and use them later in winter soups and stews when maybe you don't have access to fresh carrots readily. Cilantro, another great idea. I have some pineapple sage. I grew this in the backyard. And then one more thing, once again, that you may not think about. These are the cut up and dehydrated tops of green onions. So when you think in terms of dehydrating, remember, it's not just about herbs. There's a lot of other things that you can put in that dehydrator and use it for later use. Couple of notes about cooking. The way that you cook can add additional flavor to your dishes. Think about cooking under pressure. Pressure cookers are amazing, not only because they save you time and they save you energy, but they also take all of those flavors and they concentrated them because they are cooking them under pressure for a short period of time. And you wind up with very, very concentrated flavor in your dishes. Low and slow is what I call the next one. I'm thinking in terms of your crock pot. Crock pot is a great example of low and slow cooking. If you eat meat, you can get very inexpensive cuts of meat. Put it in that crock pot on low for 8 or 10 hours, and you're going to have flavorful food, and it's also going to tenderize that meat. And finally, roast it. Roasting is a fantastic way to bring out the natural sweetness and sugars in a lot of different vegetables and also different meats. So if you will roast things, you will wind up with things that are caramelized around the edges, and that caramelization brings out that sweetness, and it's really, really good. The bottom line is, by getting creative with herbs, spices, and flavorful liquids, you can add a tremendous amount of flavor to your cooking. You can use those expensive ingredients less, use some inexpensive ingredients, and also these items where, remember, a little bit goes a long way, and you can still serve your family amazing meals without raising the amount that you are spending on groceries. Now, if you haven't watched part 1 of this video, I really hone in carefully on exactly how you cook and how you process the foods after you get home from the grocery store, because believe it or not, those things can indeed make a difference to how much you spend on groceries every month. Part 1 of this series is right over there.